We're fourth generation. We've always been diversified in livestock and in row crops. Mainly we were growing the crops to raise our livestock. It used to be just a family operation, but now it's two families that have come together, and it's kind of unique in the ag industry.
My name is Andrea Baish. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Agronomy and Horticulture at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I'm motivated to do the work that I do really because I see the important relationship between sustainable agriculture and climate change. I really see soils as the interface of what's happening with rainfall variability, what's helping crops to be successful, to grow. I see soils and healthy soils as really this interface of land and water that has even more importance in a changing climate. The Nebraska Soil Health Initiative is a partnership between the University of Nebraska, our on-farm research network, and the Nebraska Natural Resource Conservation Service, as well as a number of cooperating farmers across the state. And so several years ago, the USDA worked with farmers and worked with the university to help establish experiments on farms of different soil health management systems. The farmers are the ones with the experience and the history of their fields to help us kind of contextualize what we've seen.
Kind of an overview of the whole entire operation is it's mainly centered around growing the feed for the livestock and then minimizing the feed cost by grazing either corn stalks or cover crops in the winter. The main reason we're pursuing sustainable agriculture has to do with controlling our inputs and doing as much with our resources as possible. The most valuable resource we have here is the ground and the earthworms and the microbials in that ground right now today. We have to supplement it with some kind of fertilizer and chemicals in order to achieve the yields that we need. But the less that we can use of that, we can control our finances and be more economically feasible. With today's issues of supply chains and transportation and all the things involved in that, I'm very happy we've already started that process, because now we can control more of what we need to do without having to deal with those issues. We can have the proper crop rotation that we need for our operation versus what the market or supply chain issues will evolve to.
Hi, I'm Tom Sabota. I am an independent crop consultant for a company called Servatech. We provide agronomic services to farmers, both services and advice. With this farm for 6 years. Properties of a healthy soil in Nebraska would be organic matter to microbial activity in the soil, improving the productivity. A soil that is resilient to a climate. Soil health has definitely shifted over the years. You know, in the beginning it was just till the ground, plant the seed, and water it and it's going to grow and fertilize it. And now it's more like, how can we make this soil better and keep it alive? And we're looking at ways to just improve water infiltration, less fertilizer needed to produce that crop, and we're starting to micromanage every little thing we do to make sure we're doing it in a way that is best for the consumer.
The central research questions that we're trying to answer with our work is really to understand the role that crop diversity can have on improving aspects like profitability, reducing external inputs, improving the soil, improving environmental outcomes of different approaches to crop management. We found was that the practice that had the most consistent and significant impacts on the soil were cover crops. And one of the really interesting things within that analysis that we did was to see that the longer the farms had been using cover crops, the more biologically available, biologically active nitrogen became available, and that created more pool of nitrogen for crops to uptake in the next years.
This is our third year into cover crops. This is the first year that we've had 100% of the farm in cover crops. In the fields that we have had really good stands of cover crops, we have seen an uptick in yield with our experiments in decrease in fertilizer use. Putting cover crops in, we see less wind erosion and soil erosion. What are we going to not have to do that we had to buy outside. So how can we use our resources better? What we've seen is better fertilizer uptake. So we use less fertilizer than we used before. And because of the natural weed suppression of the mulch, we're only doing one pass of herbicide application versus two applications. We hope after 4 or 5 years, we can continue to reduce the fertilizer and maybe not even spray at all, or spot spray where there are just issues on the field. So when I collaborate with other producers with regards to cover crops or sustainable agriculture, the discussion mainly is around economics and what are the benefits of the economics, and then also the soil health aspect of it. My communication back to them is start small and experiment and learn how it is going to work with the equipment and the people that you have on a smaller scale and build yourself up. It took us 4 years to go from 20% cover crops to 100% cover crops. And we learned a lot, had great successes, and we had mistakes, and you learn from them and move on.
What is a message that resonates with farmers about soil health? Farmers and our students who will be the future agricultural workforce, there's not always a consistent message that resonates because it is not a homogeneous group. People for whom the motivation of soil conservation and caring for the soil into the future, that is what resonates. They want to leave a legacy for the future, for their families, for their communities. For more middle adopters, we want a message around how soil health can solve problems. How can soil health management practices improve the health of their crops? How can it reduce inputs and improve profitability? How can it reduce issues with herbicide-resistant weeds?
When it first warms up in the spring, I look across our fields and they're greening up early, or I see the greenness in the fall. I understand there's more life out there on that ground versus it being barren dirt. Are we doing a better job for the consumer in the end product? And in the end, that's the only thing that matters, is we are creating food, and can the consumer of that food feel better about how we do it?
Improving the productivity of land while maintaining the longevity of it for future generations.
A farming system that supports people, communities, and the environment.
Is being able to use your existing resource base and relying less on outside inputs to create the same economic result that you have today.